September 27, 2025, Ukraine set a trap for Russia's Lancet drone depot in Melitopol and then blew it up. What began as a quiet morning on the outskirts of the city turned into one of the most precise and devastating strikes of the war. A Russian commander spotted an old UAZ van thinking it was a direct threat, but he did not know that it was a trap. And that trap was designed to lure them straight over a buried TM-62 mine. Moments later, the blast shattered the silence. But this was not it. An AI-guided Baba Yaga drone equipped with thermal imaging locked onto the depot's coordinates. Flying low and quick, it struck the depot and destroyed it completely. A $2 million depot was gone within seconds. This is the story of how Ukraine's smartest trap turned deception into dominance and proved that brains can beat billions. At 5:30 a.m., a Russian commander noticed an old Vaz idling near the perimeter of his base in Melitopol and sent a patrol to investigate. But he did not know that the decision would prove disastrous later. What looked like a minor annoyance was in fact deliberate bait. The drone depot was not just another storage shed. It was the beating heart of the Lancet drone campaign that had been striking Ukrainian positions for weeks. And now the commander had committed a fatal mistake, and this drone depot was at risk. This is how the trap was set. Also, the Russian commander was completely unaware of the heavyweight Baba Yaga drone sitting silently in a warehouse less than 300 yards away. At 5:33 a.m., the patrol truck that had been sent out minutes earlier came thundering down the street. But who knew that the Ukrainian operatives had done their job? They had buried a 15-pound anti-tank mine. Also, 4 FPV drones were accompanying Baba Yaga in the abandoned warehouse. The plan was set. Only the execution was left, but suddenly a hacked Russian radio gave a frantic message. The patrol is just 30 seconds away. A hidden Rebi 1000 vibration center had already detected the van's movement and sent an alert, leaving no time to escape. Now, the UAZ had become a burden. With clinical calm, the 3 operatives turned the vehicle into the last part of their story. They abandoned it on the roadside with the doors wide open, stuffing the empty transport sacks under potato bags. The crates that previously contained the small drones, still smelling of rotten fish used to mask their scent, were left clearly in the back. The operators moved quickly into a dark alley just 50 yards away and watched as the Russian patrol's headlights scanned the abandoned van. The soldiers searched for 10 long seconds but found nothing. Convinced it was just a fisherman's junk left behind, they sent a message back to the station. "False alarm, we are returning." The operators took a relieved breath, but their escape was not clean. As they huddled in the dark, one of them brought up the Starlink controller to activate the drones. The system emitted a tiny 0.3-second electronic ping. On paper, it was nothing, but on a Russian screen, it was enough to register as a blip. The patrol was gone, but the base was on high alert now. The trap was set successfully. At 5:38 a.m., the atmosphere in the Russian command post changed from uneasy to urgent. The blip was tiny, but enough to call for an immediate response. And the commander did that exactly. He ordered to move the depot immediately. A $2 million depot loaded with Lancet arsenals departed, accompanied by 7 infantrymen, moving away from the intersection where the mine was hidden. For a moment, it looked like the entire Ukrainian operation was on the verge of failure. The HUR team, from their hiding place, watched their target escape, but they could not let it slide easily, otherwise their entire operation would fail. So they acted immediately. They launched 2 FPV bait drones from the warehouse. Instantly, they were hit by a wall of electronic noise. But that apparent failure was precisely what the Ukrainians planned. These FPV were not escaping. They were sending out a fake Lancet signal that appeared on Russian screens as one of their own drones acting out. The Russian jammer operator assumed it was a malfunction and blasted it with a focused jamming beam. The signal died. To complete the illusion, a third operator set off the cheapest trick in the book, a $5 fire. He launched it into the side of an abandoned truck, producing a quick flash and a puff of smoke that looked like a drone strike. From his secure command post miles away, the Russian commander watched the feed with quiet satisfaction. On his screen, it looked like a flawless performance. His expensive electronic warfare had just eliminated the target mid-air. When reports of a drone wreck nearby came in, he did not hesitate because recovering the wreck was not just about protocol, it was about pride. It was a trophy to prove the worth of his system. He ordered the convoy to reroute and recover the wreckage, and in doing so, he had steered the depot vehicle into a perfect trap. Its front wheel stopped just a foot away from the hidden TM-62 pressure plate. The trick had worked flawlessly, but the firework had also attracted nearby patrols. They started scanning the area, and the HUR team was now on the verge of being discovered. At 5:42 a.m., the tension escalated. The Russian soldiers were now less than 30 seconds away from reaching the HUR team's hidden location. It was a matter of life and death. A Ukrainian operator transmitted a solo encrypted command via the Starlink. The exact ping that Baba Yaga had been waiting for. Baba Yaga did not launch a missile or release a bomb. Instead, it fired a low-power laser from 300 yards away that activated the buried TM-62. The explosion did not completely destroy the depot truck, but inflicted brutal and surgical damage, ripping out the front axle, tearing tires to shreds, and vaporizing the control wiring that connected the driver to the brakes and engine. The $2 million vehicle was stuck now. The explosion hurled the Russian patrol into confusion. Soldiers dived for cover, yelling commands and firing guns. In the chaos, the scene looked like a routine roadside ambush, the kind they have encountered numerous times previously. To the Morkans, it was just another IED, frightening but familiar. But they did not recognize that they had fallen into a meticulously engineered trap. Seizing the moment, the Baba Yaga lifted off from the warehouse floor for the final blow, but its ascent proved dangerous. An Orlan 10 overhead instantly detected the drone's massive heat signal. To gain time, one of the remaining FPV decoys was sent on a suicidal mission into a high-voltage line. The resulting explosion sparked an enormous electrical burst and created a radiant thermal bloom that blinded the Orlan's infrared sensors for a vital 2 seconds. It allowed the Baba Yaga to slip into the urban chaos and prepare for the final strike. But the Russians were already deploying defensive measures. An Mi-8 gunship was racing in, ETA 5 minutes. The time was running out for the last phase of the operation. At 5:44 a.m., the Mi-8 helicopter is less than a minute and a half away. A 10-member Russian patrol was storming in just 100 yards away from the Ukrainian team. Inside the Baba Yaga, the battery screamed a warning. 5% left. Everything had come down to one shot. The Russian air defense system was fully activated but aimed at the wrong enemy, because the Baba Yaga was not using radar at all. It was using a thermal camera to see the depot's heat signature. Trying to stop it with radar countermeasures was like trying to blind a sniper with a smoke grenade. Aboard the approaching Mi-8, the pilot stared at his screen in disbelief. His orders were to assist forces at the depot, but his sensors screamed a massive heat source 2 miles north, glowing as hot as a burning tank. This was another part of the ambush the HUR team had set up. This false heat signature was designed to distract the Mi-8, and it worked perfectly. Mi-8 deviated from its designated path, chasing a ghost. Now, the sky was clear and the Ukrainian operator gave the final command. The Baba Yaga stopped hovering and screamed downward at 120 miles per hour. Its AI-controlled system adjusted its trajectory in milliseconds. It was not just a drone anymore. It was a 15-pound armor-piercing missile. The shaped charge slammed into the side of the depot truck. For a moment, Everything went silent, and then the world exploded. The blast triggered the Lancet drone stockpile inside. Over 20 drones, each loaded with its own explosive payload. A 2,000-degree fireball erupted, vaporizing the truck and silencing 5 Russian soldiers. From their hiding spot, the Ukrainian operatives watched the inferno rise. The new Russian patrol was seconds away, but they did not run. They removed a manhole cover and descended into an already prepared tunnel. When the Mi-8 helicopter finally arrived, it was too late. There was nothing left but a crater, a burning depot, and a rising column of black smoke. By the time the smoke cleared, the hunters were already gone, their mission complete. And Russia's claws had just been cut off. At 5:45 a.m., the last picture taken by Baba Yaga's onboard camera was one of pure, desperate chaos. Russian soldiers, blinded by smoke and shock, were firing their AK-47s into the void. Overhead, the Mi-8 helicopter hovered helplessly above a burning crater. The 10-man patrol team finally arrived at the intersection, not as reinforcements, but as a cleanup crew for a battle that had already ended. The aftermath struck like a shockwave. With one strike, Ukraine had erased Russia's ability to launch more than 20 drones weekly, saving the lives of Ukrainian civilians and soldiers. Ukraine's entire operation, a 3-person team, a worn-out van, 4 FPV drones, a single mine, and 1 firework totaled barely $1,500. On the other hand, Russia watched a $2 million depot vanish, along with 20 Lancet drones worth $700,000. This was not just a tactical success, it was a financial and psychological checkmate. The message from the ruins of this depot is simple and savage. In modern wars, brains beat budgets. Russia operated with jammers, bunkers, and millions of dollars in tech. Ukraine acted with patience, deception, and a rusted van, but still won that day. How did you find this breakdown? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next deep dive.